Welcome everybody again for our monthly meeting, and glad to see your faces, and it was good to see you last weekend at the communications workshop. So the first thing we need to do, sorry, cat get in the way. First thing we need to do is approve the minutes from the May meeting. Did everybody read the minutes that Deb sent out? And I looked over them, I didn't see any real corrections or anything, so anybody else have anything to add or update to them? Okay, if not, then I would accept a motion to accept the minutes from the May. Motion to approve.
I move to accept minutes.
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor of the motion, please say aye or raise your hand.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. I just got a text. I think Carissa removed me for good. I can't get in.
Oh my gosh. Really? I didn't mean to do that.
We try to invite her, send her an invite.
Oh,
I'll just
damn.
tell her, working on it.
Oh, damn. I thought I was helping her.
Okay.
What do I do? We could close the meeting and start over, but
Well, I think, let's see.
Can we just send an invite?
I think we can just send an invite.
I went through the website and just clicked on through the
wait,
website.
I think she's saying by kicking her out, I like maybe marked her as banned from the
Arthur is
meeting.
banned from it.
Oh.
Do it.
I did not mean to do. She was having trouble disconnecting, so.
Well, I'll let you work on that since I'm not the expert on Zoom. Okay, so well, the next part was treasurer's report, which is Debbie. So we have to wait. We'll skip that because we have to wait for Debbie to come back in. I will say that the finance committee met. I forget exactly what date we met, but we met via Zoom. And Valerie and Adnan and Debbie and I all talked about what we had researched with our investments. And I had reached out to Ken Huey. He's the person who is with Raymond James, which is where our investments are in. And our investments, if I recall, I forget the total amount that we had in there, but we kind of decided we didn't want to move what was in the investments. He described them to us as they're easily accessible and they're earning a decent amount of interest for us. And even though the stock market's been going up and down, like when it went down, it came back up fairly quickly. And if you didn't have it in those investments, but you had them in like a savings account, it would take you a lot longer to rebuild the funds if they were in a lower yield account. And they are currently in I believe it's a 60-40 split of stocks and bonds. So it's pretty safe. It's not aggressive, but it's secure and it's very easily accessible. If we needed to get funds out of the investments, we just need to give them a call and they can have the funds EFT into our bank account within like a day or two. So we said, okay, let's leave those the way they are. What we really wanted to work with was the savings account. And what Debbie had said, Adnan, I'm just kind of giving a summary of what our finance committee was talking about. We had about 80,000 in our checking account, and we've never really gone below 50 in paying our daily, weekly, monthly expenses. So the first thing we were going to do is suggest that we move 30,000 from our checking to our savings account so that the checking account would be more around 50,000 and the savings account would end up being at about 130,000 if we move the funds in there. Because the savings account currently has about 100,000. And then the idea was the savings account is not getting us anything. It's like 0.1% or something like that. And we're not interested in making a lot of money off of it. We're just interested in having it do something other than just sitting there, not generating any type of income. So one of the things with our credit union, our bank account, most of the CDs are not available to business accounts. They're only available for personal bank accounts. Same thing with the higher yield savings. But we could purchase treasury bills over the course of the next year, and that would get us a little bit more in terms of interest. And so talking with Ken Huey, what we thought about was moving about 100,000 from the savings account, which would leave about 30,000 in there, and putting it into 4 different 6 months treasury bills. So over the course of the next year, so not all at once. But he said that the best yield right now is on about a 6-month treasury bill. And that way, if we had 25,000 in 4 different treasury bills, each maturing about every 3 months, we would have funds that would be maturing at about 4%, I think, is that. And that would be getting us more than what we're currently getting. So I'm seeing some comments in the chat here.
We need to restart the meeting so that Debbie Hall can get back in, apparently.
Sorry.
Okay, why don't we do that? We're not adjourning, we're just gonna stop the meeting and then restart it so Debbie can get in. Okay, so everybody hang tight and then rejoin.